Welcome back everyone to another day of Matilda. So yesterday was our first day and we learnt all about Matilda. I wonder if we're going to meet any new characters today. Let's get started. So here are our contents page with all the chapters, and you can see that today we're going to read chapter 2, which is called Mr. Wormwood, the Great Car Dealer. So today we're going to learn all about Matilda's father, and it gives you a little bit of a clue in the title. He's a great car dealer. So what he does is he sells cars to people, and it says that he's a great car dealer. So I would say that he might be quite good at it. Let's have a look and see. So here's Mr. Wormwood. There wasn't a picture on this page, so I've put a picture here for you to see, so you can actually see him while I'm reading. Mr. Wormwood, the great car dealer. Matilda's parents owned quite a nice house with 3 bedrooms upstairs, while on the ground floor there was a dining room, a living room, and a kitchen. Her father was a dealer in second-hand cars, and he did pretty well at it. Second-hand cars means that it's someone else owned it before. Sawdust, he would say proudly. It's one of the greatest secrets of my success, and it costs me nothing. I get it free from the sawmill. What do you use it for? Matilda asked him. Ha, said his father. Wouldn't you like to know? I don't see how sawdust can help you sell second-hand cars, Daddy. That's because you're ignorant little twit. So what he's saying is that she hasn't got a clue. And he's not being very nice to her, is he? Her father said. His speech was never very delicate, but Matilda was used to it. She also knew that he liked to boast and that she would egg him on shamelessly. So he likes to boast and say, like, he's the best and he's the greatest. You must be very clever to find something that costs nothing, to find a use for something that costs nothing, she said. I wish I could do it. You couldn't, the father said. You are too stupid. But I don't mind telling you, young Mike here, all about it, seeing as he'll be joining me in the business one day. Ignoring Matilda, he turned to his son and said, I'm always glad to buy a car when some fool has been crushing the gears so badly that they've worn out worn out and rattle like mad. I get it cheap. Then all I do is mix a lot of sawdust in the oil and the gearbox, and it runs as sweet as a nut. So what he's saying is he'll share his information with Michael, Matilda's brother, because he said one day, if I forget my highlighter, it says that one day he'll be joining me in the business. So it means that one day when Mike grows up, he'll work for his dad in the business. His dad will teach him all the tricks of the trade, but he doesn't want to teach Matilda. And what he's saying is he buys cars which are really badly worn and they rattle like mad, and he gets them really cheap. And then what he does is he puts sawdust in the oil and then it runs. So he doesn't actually fix them, he doesn't make them any better. He is a bit of a con man because he tries to con people, which means he tries to make people believe that it's a really good car, but actually they're not. How long will it run like that before it starts rattling again? Matilda asked. Long enough for the buyer to get a good distance away, the father said, grinning. About 100 miles. But that's dishonest, Daddy, Matilda said. It's like cheating. No one ever got rich being honest, said the father. Customers are there to be dwindled. So basically it means that he's not honest and that he sells them the cars. They'll go down the road for a little while and then they'll break down. But he's saying that you don't get any money from being honest, which obviously isn't true. Mr. Wormwood was a small, ratty-looking man whose front teeth stuck out from underneath a thin, ratty moustache. He never liked to wear jackets. He liked to wear jackets with large, brightly coloured checks and sported ties that were usually yellow or pale green. Now, take the mileage, for example, he went on. Anyone who's buying a second-hand car, the first thing they want to know is how many miles it's done, right? Right, said his son. So I buy an old dump that's got 150,000 miles on the clock. I get it cheap, but no one's going to buy it with mileage like that, are they? And these days, you just can't take the speedometer out and fiddle with the numbers back like you used to 10 years ago. We fixed it so it's impossible to tamper with unless you've got a ruddy watchmaker or something. So you know what I do? I use my brains, laddie. That's what I do. How? Young Michael asked, fascinated. So again, what he's saying is the cars he buys have a lot of mileage on them, so they've done a lot of miles. And he said that normally most people wouldn't buy them, but he's going to do something that makes it less. So he's actually, again, cheating people out of the cars. He seemed to have inherited his father's love of crockery. I sit down and so I say to myself, how can I convert mileage reading of 150,000 into 10,000 without taking the speedometer to pieces? Well, if I were to run the car backwards for long enough, then obviously that would do it. The numbers would click backwards, wouldn't they? But who's going to drive a flaming car in reverse for thousands and thousands of miles? You wouldn't do it. Of course you wouldn't, young Michael said. So I scratched my head, said the father. I used my brains. And when you've been given a fine brain like I have, you've got to use it. And all of a sudden the answer hits me. I tell you, I feel exactly like the other brilliant fellow must have felt when they discovered penicillin. Eureka! I've got it. What did you do, Dad? The son asked him. The speedometer, Mr. Woodworm said, is run off a cable that's coupled up to one of the front wheels. So first I disconnect the cable where it joins the front wheel. Next I get one of those high-speed electric drills that has a couple high-speed electric drills, and I couple that to the end of the cable in such a way that when the drill turns, it turns the cable backwards. You got me so far? Are you following me? Yes, Daddy, young Michael said. These drills run at a tremendous speed, the father said. So when I switch on the drill, the mileage numbers on the speedometer spin backwards at a fantastic rate. I can knock 50,000 miles off the clock in a few minutes with my high-speed electric drill. And by the time I finished, the car has only done 10,000 and it's ready for sale. She's almost new, I say to the customer. She's hardly done 10,000, which means 10,000. Belongs to an old lady who only used it once a week for shopping. Can you really turn the mileage back with an electric drill? Young Michael asked. I'm telling you trade secrets, the father said, so don't you go talking to anyone else. Don't you want to put me in the jug, do you? Which means he doesn't want to put him in jail. I won't tell a soul, the boy said. Do you do this on many cars, Dad? Every single car that comes through my hands gets the treatment, the father said. They all have their mileage cut to under 10,000 before they're offered for sale. And to think I invented it all by myself, he added proudly. It's made me a mint, so it means it's made him very rich. Matilda, who'd been listening closely, said, But, Daddy, that's even more dishonest than the sawdust. It's disgusting. You're cheating people who trust you. If you don't like it, then don't eat the food in this house, the father said. It's bought with the profits, which means it's bought with the money that he earns. It's dirty money, Matilda said. I hate it. 2 red, angry spots appeared on the father's cheeks. Who the heck do you think you are? He shouted. The Archbishop of Canterbury or something? You're preaching to me about honesty? So look, there he is. He is getting really, really angry again. You're just an ignorant little squirt who hasn't got the foggiest idea about what you're talking about. So what he's saying when he says she's ignorant, here's the word ignorant, it means that she doesn't understand. She's clueless. She doesn't know what's going on. But actually, we know that Matilda isn't ignorant. She's actually really clever, and that she would know what's happening. Quite right, Harry, the mother said to Matilda. You've got a nerve talking to your father like that. Now, keep your nasty mouth shut so we can all watch the programme in peace. They were all in the living room eating supper on their knees in front of the telly. The suppers were TV dinners in floppy aluminium containers with separate compartments for the stewed meat, the boiled potatoes and the peas. Mrs. Wormwood sat munching her meal with her eyes glued on the American soap opera on the screen. So she's watching an American programme that's probably on every day. She was a large woman whose hair was dyed platinum blonde, except where you could see her mousy brown bits growing out from the roots. She wore heavy makeup, and she had one of those unfortunate bulging figures where the flesh appears to be strapped in all around the body to prevent falling out. So here we go. So we've met Mr. Wormwood. That's what we met in the beginning. Now we've met Mrs. Wormwood. So here she is. So they've lots of nice descriptions of her. It says she's a large woman. Her hair was dyed platinum blonde. She wore lots of makeup. She wore heavy makeup. Okay, so you can see, if you couldn't see the picture, you would probably get the same sort of picture that Quentin Blake, the illustrator, has drawn there. And this is Mr. Woodward, which we've already met. There's Michael, and then again there's Matilda. So this family, and some families do it, that's okay. When it's dinner time, they don't sit and talk. They sit in front of the TV every night. So it's another way that the parents don't have to talk to the children, which is a bit of a shame, really. It's always nice at dinner time to sit and have a chat with your family, talk about what you've done in the day. Mummy, said Matilda, would you mind if I ate my supper in the dining room so I could read my book? The father glanced sharply. I would mind, he snapped. Supper is a family gathering. No one leaves the table till it's over. But we're not at the table, Matilda said. We never are. We always eat off our knees and watching the telly. What's wrong with the telly, may I ask? The father said. His voice had suddenly become soft and dangerous. Oh, I like that description. His voice, so he's not shouting, it's still a soft voice, but it's dangerous. So the tone of his voice has dropped down. So Matilda knows he means business. So now this is a bit of a shame, really, because Matilda wants to eat her dinner in the dining room and she wants to read her book because she doesn't really like watching television. She wants to read her book instead. But her father says no, that the term eating dinner is a family affair. Oh, I can't find where it says that. Here we go. It's a family gathering. But yes, they're all sat there together, but they don't really talk or they don't really chat together. Although they're all sat there together, it's not really a family gathering. So Matilda's right that she wants to go and do something that she wants to do, which is a bit of a shame. Like I said, they won't let her. Matilda didn't trust herself to answer him, so she kept quiet. She could feel the anger boiling up inside her. She knew it was wrong to hate her parents like this, but she was finding it very hard not to do so. All the reading she had done had given her a view of life that they had never seen. If only they would read a little Dickens or Kipling, they would soon discover there was more to life than cheating people and watching television. So, another good description. Roald Dahl's very good at this. She said she could feel her anger boiling up. That's a really good description. So I kind of feel that her anger is maybe here, and it's bubbling, it's getting higher. And what do you think when it happens, when it gets to the top of her head? What do you think might happen? In a normal person, that's when they might explode and they might get angry and they might have a tantrum, or they might hit someone, or they might shout, or may do something in anger. Matilda's not really like that, is she? So I don't really see her. She's getting angry, but she knew it was wrong to hate. So I think she's trying to control her anger. Like I said, I don't really see her hitting out or shouting or having a big tantrum. So I wonder what will happen when her anger reaches boiling point. Another thing, she resented being told constantly that she was ignorant and stupid when she knew she wasn't. So this is what we were talking about earlier. The word ignorant means that she doesn't know anything and she's stupid, which she knows she's not. She knows she's very clever. The anger inside her went on boiling and boiling. As she lay in her bed that night, she made a decision. Ooh. She decided that every time her father or mother were beastly to her, she would get her own back in some way or another. So the anger's still boiling, it's getting higher, and she's decided, right, every time they're mean to me, I'm going to get my own back. Wonder how she's going to do that. A small victory or two would help her to tolerate their idiocies and would stop her from going crazy. You must remember that she was still hardly 5 years old, and it's not easy for someone as small as that to score points against the all-so-powerful grown-ups. Even so, she was determined to have a go. Her father, after what had happened in front of the telly that evening, was first on her list. So, after what happened, her father saying to her that no, she couldn't read. She's so cross with him, and the fact that he keeps telling her that she's ignorant and stupid, that he is first on her list. And she is going to try, and it says here, she was going to get her own back in some way or another. What do you think that means? So that was the end of our chapter, and I'm going to leave you with the fact that she says she's going to get her own back. Now, what do you think that means? What do you think she's going to do? What do you think it means to get your own back? Now, to be honest, it's not something I would recommend. If someone does something to you, you wouldn't want to get your own back. You would, if it was happened to you, then you would tell your parents or a teacher or a grown-up or someone like that. If someone was big, you wouldn't get your own back. But, and this is what makes the story good, that Matilda does get her own back. So although she is a good girl, it's the only way that she can, because she's got no one to talk to. She can't talk to her parents because they think she's stupid, and that's it. That's really her circle, is her mum, her dad, and her brother. And so she is doing that. But what do you think it means, getting her own back? I think it might mean she might play tricks on her family. So the first thing she's going to do is play a trick or something like that, similar, on her dad. I wonder what it might be. Maybe you can write in the comments, what do you think Matilda's going to do to her dad for upsetting her? Well, I can't wait to find out tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.